I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have a memory planning process for you. I am memory planning for the week of Thanksgiving. So we were on a trip to see family. I have a ton of pictures, so we'll see how many of these I can fit in. I'm planning on using the pink paisley line again and again as some of my embellishment for this particular spread. I will end up putting you guys on fast forward. I'll link the things that I use down below. Otherwise, let's go. So this week is very different from the previous week in my memory planner in that I have a ton of different photos, like photos out the wazoo. So when I have that many photos, I definitely have to start with photos first and figuring out how many I can fit on the page, where I can kind of cluster them, how close they can be to the actual day that they occurred. So that's what I do first, is kind of lay out the photos and kind of take it from there. They will certainly dominate the page, which in my opinion is totally fine with memory documenting. I mean, you'll see some gorgeous scrapbook layouts that are huge 12 by 12 pages with one tiny little photo. I think you can find a balance, and I have a lot of photos to tell on this particular week, a lot of photos to share, a lot of stories to tell, and so the embellishments are going to be significantly less than I might normally do on a memory planning page, and that is okay. So I decided what I would do is bring in a variety of papers, and I would do clusters of photos, and they would be matted in the same paper. So any photo that's overlapping with another, those two will be matted in the same exact photos. And the papers I'm using have lots of blues and pinks, which do kind of have a Thanksgiving feel to me. I'll bring in a few other elements. I wouldn't say this is like the most fall themed page, but that's okay because I've been doing a lot of fall themed projects, and I have just some odds and ends left that I'll kind of bring in here, but it's okay to me that this page doesn't necessarily like scream Thanksgiving. Totally fine. So again, I just sped this up a lot. I'm just matting all of my photos with just a little bit of the paper peeking out. It brings the photos together. It brings a color scheme across both sides of the page. That way it kind of flows together, even though I have all my photos printed in color, which is something I like to do. I know a lot of people like to document photos in black and white so they can kind of choose the embellishments on their own, to each their own. So whichever you prefer, I think just go with it. I just happen to really like the color photos. All right, so these will all get secured onto the page. And like I said, when I have so many photos to start with, I just need to get those down and settled early on, and then I just go from there. All right, so next up I'm looking for how I can add some embellishments to the page. And even in the 6x8 book, there were some cut apart pages, some cut apart tags and things like that. But a lot of them that you can see right here, it's too big. It just wasn't gonna work. Several of them that I tried just wouldn't work quite right. So I'm going to use this particular tag over here to document one special story, and then a few of these as decorative elements that I can kind of cluster in different places. But really, I'm just going to have to just go with the flow and see what I can fit in different places. And you can see just how I experiment. I move things around until it fits where I need it to fit, or I need to make sure it doesn't cover up certain things that are going on. You just have to kind of experiment with what you have. And especially for this particular page where, like I said, I'm using some odds and ends from all my fall themed ephemera that I've been playing with recently, I have to move things constantly. And so I wanted to keep all of this in here so that you would see it doesn't always come super naturally. There are some trial and error, especially when you're trying to fit so many things on a page and still have a cohesive look on the page. So I'm kind of just going through, testing out, auditioning different ephemera pieces in different places and seeing what I can fit until it feels like I have enough on the page to create kind of the feeling that I'm wanting to create. I don't need every square inch of white space covered up because I do plan on doing journaling lines in here. So once I get most of the pieces ready, then I'll just start putting things down. You can see I'm kind of going through and figuring out what I have left, what I can cluster. But then I will go through and start just adhering things down. And I'm using some Tombow adhesive. You might see that I do have my adhesive tape glider out. I did purchase refills for it, just a couple, and it was expensive. So I'll have to come up with a new solution for that. But it did feel good to get to pull it out again because I do like that particular tape glider. Okay, so getting everything down on the page, and then I will look and see how I can add a few more details. So in memory planning, generally I'm working from the biggest to the smallest, meaning I'm working through photos or a big element on the page first, and then as things start getting put down on the page, I start looking at smaller and smaller details that I can add in different ways. At this point, there are still some white spaces on the page that I don't really like. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with them. I have a few more pieces that I can put on. I love this particular one. It says 3 things I'm grateful for today. And of course, it's a picture of me and my 3 kiddos, which I thought was very appropriate. So I will put that down. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is add the journaling lines that I want in there. So I still have some awkward white spaces that I wasn't super pumped about. I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers disc punch to punch out these holes. This is probably my favorite tool of the past like 2 years. I love this tool. It is awesome. So punch out those holes. I'll go through, add in all of the journaling lines so I can write as much as possible. I ended up with a lot more journaling space than I anticipated, and I also wrote in really small handwriting. If you look at the pictures from the end, because I do my journaling off camera. And so I had a little bit of room to play with. And what I decided to do was add just a little bit of stitching detail in black. So I'm using a black Papermate Flare pen and adding just a few stitching details where I have some of the white space, and I love how it kind of brought it together even more. I have these big clusters of photos and I love what they look like, but this brings both sides together. I love the pop of black, always a good choice on a page, and it really finishes off the page in a really nice, cohesive way. It feels less like things are just stuck randomly on the page, and for some reason this really brought it together, and I was super pleased with how it turned out. Once I finish up adding all of these little stitching details, then I will go through my Wordfetti stickers and find a few meaningful ones and kind of splatter them across the page on places that they are appropriate. So I just love adding those different Wordfetti moments. And then, like I said, I'll do my journaling off camera. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I will link all of the supplies that I used down below so you can be sure to check those out. I want to give a huge shout out to my Scrappy YouTube members. Thank you so much for all of your support. It really helps keep this YouTube channel afloat. If you're interested in becoming a Scrappy YouTube member and receiving some of the perks that they receive, then make sure to click the join button or check the link in the description box. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.